Real generosity doesn't begin with giving things. It begins with giving thanks. It's acknowledging who's the source of everything you have. A king of Babylon, he got out and he looked at all the kingdoms, and there was a warning that he will crumble and he will fall just like this balloon. Daniel gave him a warning. He says, you're gonna be nothing if you don't acknowledge God as the source of everything. And Nebuchadnezzar doesn't obey that instruction. So he gets up on his palace and he says, isn't this all of mine? Didn't my power build all of this? This is my glory. And the voice was still in his mouth when God said, you're finished. And he lost his mind. Every person who gets inflated with pride because of their achievements very soon blows up by losing their mind. King Saul did exactly the same thing. Somebody else got more prosperous. It was David, and King Saul lost his mind. Herod had people worship him, and the Bible says worms came and they ate him. You can be rich or you can be poor, but base your identity not on your income, not on your dress code or what kind of restaurants you can afford to eat in, not on the brands of your clothes or the brands of your technology, your devices, or on where you live, your zip code, or what kind of neighborhood. Base your identity on Jesus Christ. Then you can stay humble. I love this story about King David. King David is toward the end of his life, and in 1 Chronicles, in 2 Chronicles chapter 29, David is donating money to the temple. And some people calculated how much he donated, that he gave 112 tons of gold. 112 tons of gold. And so it's pretty much about $7 billion worth of stuff that he gave to God. And the people gave 118 tons of gold, and then he gave 200 something tons of silver. He gave all of that money away. And David says this in his prayer. He says, God, I'm not worthy to be this generous. And he says things like, he said, blessed are you, O God of Israel. He said, yours is the greatness, the power and the glory, the victory and the majesty. Then he says, both riches and honors come from you, and you reign over all. In your hand is power and might. In your hand is to make great and to give strength. And then he says, but who am I? Who are my people that we should be able to offer so willingly as this? For all things come from you, and of your own we have given you. For we are aliens and pilgrims before you. We and our fathers, our days are a shadow on earth. This is a billionaire giving over $7 billion in an offering to God. And he says, God, who am I to offer billions of dollars to you? To my knowledge, nobody's here is a billionaire, but we could borrow this attitude in the state we are in today. Generosity doesn't begin with giving things, it begins with giving thanks. You can't be generous in your giving if you're not generous in your thanksgiving. If you can't lift your hands, if when the song is singing, your heart doesn't feel gratitude for being alive, if you can't give praise to God, you're holding it back. And when you're holding it back, your identity and your self-worth is being inflated or is being under attack, and you're gonna suffer from that. And I challenge the rich people at Hungry Generation, do not be proud. Say this with me, my worth is not based on my net worth. Are you with me? The second thing that Paul is saying is don't be proud. He says don't trust in riches. There was one more rich person in the Bible that we meet, and this rich person, he had a great year, great income flow. His business quadrupled. He meets with his financial counselors and he says, what we should do? A lot of money coming in. We got, our stocks went up, real estate went up, everything is going good. And so they met together and they decided to do this. Why don't we upgrade, upgrade our company, update our buildings, upgrade all of our cars. Let's also move into a better neighborhood. Let's launch into a new territory, bring our product into a new territory. So when I read that, I'm like, that's a wise counsel. When your money is coming in to upgrade, to update, to go further. And Jesus looks at this idea and He calls this man a fool. Now there are parts of the Bible that I wrestle with. I'll read it and I'm like, I don't like it. This is one of them. The man did not take a trip to Las Vegas. This man did not bring prostitutes and alcohol and drugs and say, let's party it up. He actually used his finances to upgrade, to move forward his business and his life. This is nothing wrong at first, but Jesus says this. He said, this man is a fool. And not only that, what bothers me is what Jesus says next. He says, so is everyone who becomes richer in money, but not in God. Because He says, tonight I will come and ask for your soul. What will these things be? Who will they be left to? And then Jesus talks about being trusted. So for us, what our lesson from this is, a lot of times it's normal. We live in a culture where you don't buy new things because your things are broken. You buy new things because they're available. It used to be you only upgrade because the things that you're having don't work. You buy new shoes. Why? Because the ones you have holes in them. You buy a new car. Why? Because that car, the transmission died. Today we no longer do that. We update and upgrade for two reasons. You either got a promotion or the Apple released a new product. And then you're looking at your phone and you're like, this sucks. I know it's iPhone 10, but there's something's wrong with the screen. I can't go 12 feet into the water. I can only go 11 and a half. I need something that goes in 12 feet. You haven't been near the ocean for the last 10 years. But in case I ever go there. And I'm not against upgrading and updating. When it comes to Apple products, I'm the first one that's guilty. That's why I said this verse wrestles with me. But Jesus is saying, do not trust in riches. And I want you to write this down and repeat this with me. Say, I will not trust in riches, but in Him who richly provides. Don't trust in riches, trust in Him who richly provides. And that is visible by your upgrading and updating systems. What do you do when your income increases? Do we just rush right away? Hey, that means I need to update. I need to increase. People need to know that I am prosperous. Let that verse wrestle with you, because it's wrestling with me. Number 3, he tells to the rich people, Apostle Paul, he says not only we have to not be proud. Don't trust in riches, we trust in God. Don't make your wealth your source of worth. But he says this, he says that do good. Do good. And to me, what that speaks of is not to cut corners. Don't be bad trying to be rich. A lot of times when you start accumulating money, it's easy, especially if you can afford good lawyers, to start cutting corners. Start becoming dishonest with our finances. Start, especially those of us who are generous. Generosity does this weird thing to us where it feels like we are excused from living honest. I know people who, because they give, they feel like it's okay now that they are not honest before God for the financial life that they're living. They don't need to necessarily pay taxes. They don't need to pay their employees. They can steal a little bit there. They can lie there. They can change things there. Why? Because I'm generous. King Saul did that, in fact. God told him to destroy Amalekites. He went and he didn't destroy the Amalekites. What he did is he saved the fattest and the biggest for himself. And when Samuel come back, Samuel says, hey, what is the sheep that I'm hearing over there? And Saul says, oh, that's for God. And Samuel rebuked him and he says, God was asking you a plain simple thing to do. Don't think your generosity can overcompensate your lack of honesty. That means live honest in your finances. Don't steal. Do good. Do good is don't steal. I remember me and my wife, we embarked on this extra generous lifestyle in 2013. At the end of 2013, and something happened. I liked this TV show that stopped producing episodes with the main character there who was Jim Caviezel, the guy who was in Passion of the Christ, called Person of Interest. And it was on Tuesday night. It was airing at 9 o'clock and it had commercials. I don't like commercials. And so, but at that time they had this thing called LimeWire. For those of you, there was torrents where you can download illegally the whole TV show. I use the word illegally because it is illegal. But I didn't see it as illegally. So what I would do is that I would come from church and just download the TV show that would show up at 10 o'clock, at 6 o'clock. And my excuse was for this: I just don't like to sit through commercials, and I cannot sit till 10 o'clock because I have to be at church next morning. So I had these 3 godly reasons for which I was downloading things that were not legal. And then I had a last one is this: I'm ripping Hollywood. They're already wicked. What difference does it make? And I remember one time the Lord convicted me. He said, Vlad, you're a thief. I said, no, I'm not. He says, you're downloading stuff illegally. And I felt, I'm like, God, why are you not convicting me for watching stuff? Why are you convicting me for watching things that are downloaded illegally? And then when I started paying for the things that I wanted to watch, I watched a lot less. And me and my wife, we made a decision after that, is that content or things, we're not going to get things that are illegal. Some of you may say, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Invite a police officer and ask him if it is. A lot of people, they steal things or they sell things. For those of us especially who really want to sell, you know, I remember when I was selling my car that had a, you know, a salvage title, and I knew things were wrong with it. And the first time I sold it, I dropped the price so low. And they asked me, what's wrong with the car? And I told them nothing. They're like, why are you selling it for so low? I'm like, I'm just generous. And God convicted me. He says, fix the car and tell them the truth and raise the price. And after raise to deliver, I fixed that thing. I raised it as high as I could. And I told him the truth. I didn't plan to sell it. I just wanted to be honest. I said, this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong. And I was about to leave, and he says, I have a check. And full price, the guy gave it to me. Now, I'm not saying it would always happen like this, but rich people, you're good at being sneaky. You're good at cutting corners. It's hard to become honest as a rich person. That's why Bible challenges us, do good. Don't become bad in trying to be rich.